Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here in Montreal, Canada. I'm here at the Virtuoso Symposium, and with a familiar face, Matthew Upchurch, who's chairman and CEO of Virtuoso. We're going to talk to Matthew about what went down here at Symposium, because we're really at the last day, and what the prospects are for the future for Virtuoso, as well as how we've handled the last really surge in business in the last few months, last year. And you're going to hear about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. Matthew, first of all, thank you again for inviting me to Symposium. It's been always a great meeting with you, always great seeing you. We see each other a lot over the course of the year, but this is always a very special time because it's a much more intimate gathering of your advisors and your suppliers. But let's talk about that. I mean, first of all, my first question is, why did you choose Montreal as the site of this year's Symposium, and what is luxury about Montreal?
Well, first of all, bonjour, James.
Bonjour, 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 as I say. Right?
Well, first of all, we have a very strong network here, so both inbound and outbound, and we have a fabulous relationship with tourism, with Destination Canada and Tourism Montreal. So this has been on the books, and one of the reasons we pick places is when the private sector and the government come together and really put forth a fabulous proposal, and we thought they did a great job. And we felt that this was kind of an undervalued gem that a lot of people hadn't visited a long time or were underestimating, and that's exactly what we found out. Everybody has absolutely been just delighted. I mean, I even had, one of our partners is a representation, Carlos Correa, lives in Vancouver. His wife is from northern Quebec, and they come through here all the time. He's now a Canadian citizen. He says, "Oh my gosh, I need to stop here and actually spend some time."
Well, it's absolutely. As you know, I live in the New York area, and I keep saying I'm going to come up here, and I never do. It's an hour flight.
Well, I mean, the food, the culture. We had an incredible Gregory Charles, is a famous performer up here who did a fantastic job. He started life as not only the boys choir but also a tour guide. And one of the things that I wanted to share with everybody that is one of my number one takeaways. Gregory Charles talked about the fact that back in the 20s and 30s that there was no segregation in the artistic community here. So this was a early place where artists of all races and colors could come together and play together. And he told a story about that. It's so much so that through the 20s, 30s, and 40s, that later on in the 50s and 60s, when you had, when you had mixed races and stuff in a band, it was called playing the Montreal way. So and those are the kind of really cool stories that give a heart to a place. And I've fallen in love with Montreal.
Well, of course, in the 30s, you could also get a drink here. So that's
yeah, a little bootlegging going on.
That came up actually during the conference, and of course, the hotel we're staying at right now is where John and Yoko did their sleep-in many years ago.
Yep, the famous Bed In, and again, wonderful culture here. Lots of, they have tons of festivals, the food, the culinary scene here, and the other thing is, this is a bit of Europe without the price tag. Right. I mean, and
the value of the Canadian dollar right now is a real good deal for Americans.
The quality of our accommodations here, the value is really remarkable.
Yeah, and you also got to go to the circus, right?
It's always a circus around me.
No, this is actually the home of the circus, Cirque du Soleil, Cirque à Louise, I think is the one you went to. It really is an amazing city. So it can be very much a luxury destination, right?
Yeah, and very, I didn't know that it's also like one of the comedy capitals of the world, right? So you have the global home of circus, comedy, cuisine, jazz. This is the largest jazz festival in the world is here. So a lot of cool stuff going on here. I totally was blown away and exceeded my expectations.
Well, we're glad that we came up here. It really was something that I've been trying to do for years, and I just never have. Now let's get back to Virtuoso now a little bit. Obviously, how are sales for your members right now? Everybody that I talk with in the travel agency community is saying things are booming right now. Right?
Yeah, we actually shared some of those statistics. Overall, our sales are up 91% over 2019.
That's an amazing figure.
Yeah, I mean, almost double over 2019, which is just amazing. And then, of course, we have certain categories. On the hotel side, I think it's almost 180, 770 something. And then even in the cruise sector, like river cruising is up like 200%, and expedition is going through the roof. So
That's for 23 and even into 24.
absolutely, yeah. And we have, while booking patterns are back, people are still booking further. They also are booking things, 24, 25, which is why we're very grateful to our cruise partners for coming out with itineraries sooner, for further out booking.
Yeah. Now, there's so much business now. One of the challenges for your members is how are they handling that? Because all I hear is I don't have enough time.
Well, I mean, absolutely. But I will say that one of the things I'm really, really proud of is we started focusing on new talent. Frankly, we made it our mission statement in 2001.
Yeah, way back then, yeah.
Way back then. And we've been focusing on professional development, talent acquisition for quite some time. Yes, they are overwhelmed, but we're working on a number of strategies, professional development strategies. We talked about talent acquisition here, and a lot of different things. So I also think there's an opportunity in the marketplace to pair up advisors with people that are really good at the functional part of it, right? Okay. Because I think for 20 some odd years at the beginning of the GDS, having to learn GDS command language kind of biased people to being left brain. Mm-hmm. And then when the online revolution happened, right, and we had that shift, we went to kind of the right brain type person that's great with open-ended questions and all that. Like for me, I always joke with myself, like I know that Sudoku is some sort of a puzzle or something, but that's just not my thing. Yeah. And I think there's a real opportunity now in the industry to really put together unique ability teams around left brain, right brain, and when you do that right, it's an exponential improvement in productivity.
Yeah, and also, so if you're figuring out ways to I mean, it's incredible business, and it's sort of rather ironic because. Do you think now is kind of one of the best times ever to be a travel advisor?
Well, we always thought that travel has the fundamentals of travel, the fact that there's 5 generations of people traveling all at the same time. That's never happened before. I love the statistic that, the longevity revolution on the baby boomer side is the one where, I love this one, that 80% of all human beings since the beginning of mankind that have reached the age of 80 are alive today. So we've always had 80-year-olds, just not that many. And then on the other side, you have the prioritization of experiences. What's good about this is the attraction of our industry. The fact that you can travel from anywhere, work from anywhere and do all that, is so yes, I do think. And in fact, even during the pandemic, I kept saying in a lot of my videos that I did for the network that one of the most important things that advisors needed to do, and I know it was counterintuitive given that there was no business, was to really figure out who they did not want to do business with, and how to, quite frankly, part ways with those customers that weren't really the optimal match. And that's something that's also very important right now.
No, absolutely. And it is ironic that just 2-3 years ago we're saying, are we going to survive this? Because there was nobody even understand this crisis that we were going through. And now it really is the best time to be a travel advisor, and you got more business than you can handle. And you actually had addressed that even before the pandemic. I think you told me you were trying to make some changes to Virtuoso, evolve your organization. How did the pandemic accelerate those changes for you?
Yeah, we actually had looked at a lot of the things that were success, but what was going to accelerate. And one of the areas that we did, we added some areas of expertise that we didn't have before. We added a product division. Maybe the best way to analogize that is that, it's like an F1 analogy. Somebody builds the car, somebody drives the car, somebody services the car, right? So we're able to accelerate by having people that have very specific capabilities and skills, and then have the actual tools and time to be able to execute that and hand it off better. So we're a better global company. We now have general managers all over the world. Right. We've added the product division, and there's a lot of things that we've done to kind of streamline the way in which the team works, from sales to support to all that kind of stuff, but very much focused on being able to deliver. We feel that the future of Virtuoso is our ability to deliver the right content, the right tools depending on where any individual advisor is in their, growth from, novice focus to an iconic advisor.
Well, you've made some changes. Obviously, you have. I think you have upcoming. You're going to look at virtuoso.com again. You're going to look at that whole adin and have a new version of that. You have your campaign, So Virtuoso. You have a new magazine, now it's just called Virtuoso. I mean, those are the visible changes, but you've also made changes in your staffing. So you've made a lot of changes just in the last year alone, right?
Yeah, and a lot of that, again, it has to do with complementary capabilities underpinned by the importance of data and really showing how human connection, is the thing that differentiates us, but data is what binds us together. So the ability to leverage data while also amplifying our humanity, and that's one of the reasons that AI, for example, was such, AI and synthetic media was one of the big topics that we had here.
Yeah, you had like 2 sessions on it. It was crazy. I mean, and I honestly, in the last month, I can't tell you how many sessions I've seen on AI, and it's still a mystery to me about how it's going to mesh with what we do here. Obviously, there are functions in AI that we can use, but as you mentioned, it's still going to emphasize the human connection even more, right?
Well, I think what's going to happen with AI is exactly what happened with the internet, just a lot faster. Because as Gilad Bernstein, who's one of our board members, said, the difference between the rollout of the internet is that it took a lot of hardware. The hardware is already there, so I think that the speed of change. But in the very, in the very near future, talking about AI will be like talking about the internet when it, once it was established. It's like talking about I have a phone, or I drive a car. I mean, it's going to be embedded in everything that we do. And I'm incredibly bullish because what it does is it really adds value. We had Dr. Brene Brown was one of our keynote speakers back before anybody knew who she was. And I literally used one of her quotes that is even more relevant. I've used it multiple times over the last 15 years. And she literally said that as technology becomes more ubiquitous, people would not only desire but crave authentic human connection. Right. One of the AI experts that I follow was saying that, human beings are kind of wired to trust other human beings, that we have a propensity to do that. But with AI, with everything looking and sounding real, even more so than ever, it's going to be the human factor, the trust factor, that is going to be really important.
No, and in fact, look, I've been hearing all these presentations, and what I come away with is that both travel advisors aren't going away. You can use AI, and the fact that I actually might have a job too, because I hear that they're just going to write the articles for me, right?
Well, I think Sundar Pichai of Google said it's really going to be that super assistant, right? And it is going to force us to go up the value chain of creativity. There's a difference between information and wisdom.
Right, absolutely. Now, you did talk about some of the strategies you're using. I think you talked about like sort of 4 basic strategies you're looking at to change Virtuoso and innovating with data. But you tell me what are you focusing in on really?
Yeah, they're actually 4 key capabilities that we're working on because basically it's innovate with data. I mean, we've made huge investments in that area. A lot of interesting stuff. The most important thing there is to be able to show our partners, our members, and our advisors literally be able to feel that when we have this data, you can literally feel the difference in the quality or the impact of what we do for you. So innovate with data. The other one is a tech ecosystem. We don't believe that there's a monolithic solution in travel technology. Unfortunately, the overall travel tech ecosystem overall in the travel industry is probably a decade behind, let's say, retail, for a lot of reasons. But we feel that the future of how we help our network is by creating a tech ecosystem that focuses on the ability of, so that we're not picking winners and losers, we're identifying amazing startups, incumbents that are doing new features, but it's really focusing on interoperability, how to share data between these systems. Right. Because I think we grew up in an industry where everybody was used to like, well, I have one GDS with one accounting system, and this is the way it goes, and everybody, 80% of the market all use the same thing. Right. and I think that's going to change significantly. Another one was we have been doing a lot of test and learn with consumer marketing on how to basically help join our members in acquiring high-value travelers with some very exciting results, while also helping build a brand, which helps the members attract more customers and, quite frankly, more advisors. Okay. Right, and then the other one is the new network digital experience. So we did a lot of work. We did a lot of foundational work to have a more modernized, cloud-based, et cetera, infrastructure, which we first applied to the consumer side of our business. But now we are developing a whole new network digital experience to help both our advisors, our members, and our partners interact with us on a more real-time basis.
You got a lot on your plate here with all these different things going on, but it sounds like great. It's fun. You're always evolving, always doing new technology. And I date from when we always talk about this, when you mandate the use of fax machines in all agency offices, which we're laughing at it now. What's a fax machine?
Well, it's funny. Tanya Swassbrook, who's now a member, who reminds me how old I am, who says, I've known you since I was 10 years old. She actually was in the AI session and in the synthetic media session, and she literally walked back to the back of the room and said, this kind of reminds me of when you were telling people to get a fax machine. So,
and then you were the first one to do the intranet and things like that. I remember we actually did a cover story back on my old magazine about API Net or something. So you've been always innovative, so you got to keep on going, right?
Well, I think it's what's cool about all the years I've spent at Virtuoso is that our job is to listen to our members, see what they are so innovative, and our partners, and then how do we build an operating system? It's kind of the latest language I'm using. I want Virtuoso to be a little bit like Apple iOS, all these amazing people are building all these applications, but how can I? And how can the Virtuoso team and I provide an operating system that adds value to the incredible things that they do every day and the unique way in which they deliver value?
Now, you announced here that the next symposium will be in Dubai, basically next May, a year from now almost. And any truth to the rumor? Because you had gone, I was actually in Dubai when you were in Dubai, and you went to the opening of Atlantis the Royal. You saw Beyonce. I emailed you, said, "Can I get in?" And you said, "No, I can't get you in." So, is any truth to the rumor? You like Beyonce so much that you decided to go to Dubai, right?
Well, Beyonce was great, but actually the person I really love there is Tom Rollins, who's the GM, the GM of Atlantis the Royal, who I've known for many years, and it's amazing when you have an over $1 billion project like that. It's absolutely amazing the things that are going there. But Tom and our friends at Jumeirah and our partners at Dubai Tourism put together an amazing bid. So we're very much looking forward to it. It was quite and it wasn't the opening; it was the reveal. The reveal. But
I was there. I could see the fireworks in the distance. It looked pretty impressive. I got to tell you. And I hopefully I'll get back there. It looks like hopefully we'll get back there when you're there. But they're opening so many new properties, so many luxury properties there. It really obviously means, and I think you've been there before, but this is going to be amazing next meeting. But before that, you got a little thing called Virtuoso Week. What's that looking forward right now? How many people do you think are going to be attending that one?
Well, we're still 3 months out, so we're at about 4,000 right now. So we will have a cutoff, so yeah, we're super excited. There's a lot. I think the thing that I love about Virtuoso Travel Week is how it's evolved. It's almost like a city that builds itself once a year. And I think one of the things that I've loved the most about it is that, how if you go to New York, right, you don't go to New York. You don't go to the whole city of New York. Every time you go there, and what's the benefit of New York, right? It's choice. It's all the options. And so if you see what is going on at Virtuoso Travel Week, now versus years ago, you have the partner lounge, you have, all the different areas that we have, the
Globetrotters, all the things,
Globetrotters, this, that. So it's all the different things that are happening there that give our members and our partners the opportunity to coalesce around opportunities and have a lot of choice. And so, yeah, think about it. I started in 1988 with that, so
Well, remember, it used to be a 500, used to be 98. Now, I'm looking forward to it. Sounds like it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to being there. Anything else you want to tell our viewers about what's going on with Virtuoso today and anything that came out of this symposium?
Well, I think the thing that I think you alluded to before, I'm incredibly proud of what this industry has achieved, what it is. I always felt that it had that opportunity, and that I think that the other thing that I think we all need to be aware of is also while we're Virtuoso, we may be advisors and agencies and whatever. I will actually do a pitch for something else, which is the World Travel and Tourism Council. And I think it's important for all of us, even though the pandemic helped us, to keep reminding people, the media, and everybody that travel and tourism is a serious business, right? It's 1 out of every 10 jobs in the world, and that is a force for good. So if you're not familiar with WTTC, they have a great website, a lot of things they do, but I remember saying this years ago to a bunch of students at Cornell. You may leave there and be really smart people, but we all need to tell people that we're a unified force under travel and tourism.
Absolutely, and you and I have attended a few WTTC meetings, and I'm sure we'll do more. And in fact, you're working on heading membership recruitment right now for them. So I think it's been a growing. As we were both in Saudi Arabia, it was the largest one ever, and so hopefully we can keep that momentum going.
Yeah, and what I'm super excited about is that they've the membership. But we're actually starting a WTTC digital network for small, medium-sized enterprises. That's not a membership category, but I have felt that there's an opportunity for WTTC to be able to support small, mid-sized businesses. And for example, Mark Tellio of Montreal, Canada here did this incredible presentation on the stories of Canada and about how travel and tourism to some of these places is such a lifeline for communities and for the environment and things like that. So,
well, Matthew, I want to thank you for inviting me once again to this incredible symposium. Looking forward to seeing you again at Virtuoso Travel Week in Vegas and hopefully in Dubai in about a year. I'm sure we'll see each other a few times since then. It's great to see you.
Thank you, James, as always.
I'm James Schillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.